What's up? We're live. Another Wednesday, another restaurant expert roundup. We've got a damn good one today. Jonathan Mays will be back in 1 second. Jonathan, my man, where are you hailing us from today?
Today I am in Chicago at Restaurant Business World Headquarters.
Nice. So tell us about yourself. Tell us about the Restaurant Business Magazine and everything you do.
Certainly. So I'm Jonathan Mays. I'm the editor-in-chief of Restaurant Business. Restaurant Business is the sort of largest business-to-business publication serving the restaurant industry. Myself, I tend to do a lot of writing, so I cover franchise, finance, and fast food. Those are sort of my areas of expertise, but we cover the whole gamut from independents to large chains, and everything in between, and food and finance and technology and all sorts of stuff.
Awesome. So let's dig into it. What's the 2022 outlook look like? I know we've got employment issues depending on what part of the country you're in. I'm having a lot of people tell me theirs have kind of leveled out, but food cost isn't going anywhere. And I'm sure gas prices are going to drive up food costs. What are you hearing, and what should we look forward to the rest of the year?
Right. So things are sort of in a state of uncertainty right now.
Yep.
We don't know. Like if you were to ask anybody about what's going on in the industry, what's going to happen, I don't think anybody really has a decent picture because, the things we do know is, gas prices are going up. And that's going to, at the moment, we don't see any evidence that consumers are not spending as a result of that, at least at restaurants. But historically, when we see high gas prices, we tend to see a reaction from consumers. They eat out a little bit less. The other thing it does is it contributes to inflation and the costs that restaurants have. And that's, the thing that the industry is dealing with right now, because you have high wages. Wage rates are up plus 10% over the past year. And food costs, restaurants' food costs, also related to labor, are up in the 12 to 13% range. And then now you add high gas prices on top of that, and so much of the supply chain depends on trucks getting from point A to point B, that drives up costs even further. So you could expect a lot more inflation over the course of the year, and so that restaurants' costs are going to go up. They're probably going to have to continue to raise prices, and then that leads to questions about whether consumers will be able to handle it. At the moment, we don't see that. The Fed started raising interest rates today, raising it a quarter point. So there's a lot of talk now about the Fed actually pushing the economy into a recession to get rid of all this inflation. So it's just a challenging environment from an operator's perspective right now, and that's going to continue in 2022.
Yeah. Well, the good thing, though, at least from my opinion, from what I see, that I've got a 19 and a 17-year-old. I've got a 45-year-old wife that has 2 grown kids that doesn't cook anymore. It's just like, I'm done with that crap. And we work with 400 plus restaurants across the country, and there's a generation in there. My mom and dad aren't that generation. They're at home cooking, saving pennies because they're in their 70s. But there's a whole nother generation that don't know how to cook.
Yeah.
That don't. I struggle with a DiGiorno and Pop-Tarts. So, I don't care what prices go to. I'm going to be eating at my favorite local restaurants, and I'm going to be grabbing stuff on the go.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that is very true. I mean, there is a large number of people that really don't like cooking, and they don't like cleaning. They don't like doing the dishes.
Yeah.
And so they continue, and so they are willing to spend a lot of money, in fact, to eat out. Look at how much delivery costs, right? The cost of getting a delivered meal is really substantial. I've done it quite a few times, and my eyes pop out of my head every time I get the delivery bill.
Yeah.
And people just like getting it. And I think you've seen in a scenario in the restaurant space right now where people are actually definitely paying more when they go out, and they're not just paying higher prices. they're actually ordering more when they go out. They're getting more premium items. They're adding on. They're buying for more people, buying for more families, and stuff like that. And that's a trend that hasn't really ended.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen it a lot. We've seen it all over the place, especially you talk about the third party and delivery fees. It cracks me up that to see, like, I'll sometimes be at my office and I'll go to look at something online because I don't want to get off my butt. And I'm like, is it worth $9 to go a block or not?
Mhm. Right. Right.
when,
No.
when, when
Yeah.
you look at employment costs, you said rates are up somewhere in the neighborhood 10% year
Yep.
over year. Is that what you said? So is the restaurant business finally at a wage where they'll be able to attract and keep talent? Because I think that's one thing that's happened over the last couple of years is some of the people went to construction where they make more money, even though it might be more of a physically demanding job, that they haven't come back to the restaurants maybe because of pay.
Yeah. Well, we've heard some anecdotal evidence for sure that the industry was really starting to, that they were getting a lot more applications. Operators have told us that things were getting better certainly after the Omicron variant started declining. And, we've seen some evidence of that for sure, that that things were certainly starting to pick up. But there's still, I mean, the thing is like the industry is still still like 800,000 jobs short of what it was before the pandemic. And it can't be explained away by even wages or anything like that. There's just a segment of the population that said, we're not going to work at restaurants anymore for one reason or the other. And that's sort of the long-term question, is whether the industry can get those people back and whether the wages, because, I mean, especially for young workers, you're getting $15+ an hour, which actually is, really good.
Yeah.
It's really good pay for especially for somebody with, with no work experience and things like that coming in off the street. So
Yeah, my college pay was $725 with a degree in television broadcasting. So yeah, you got people that don't have to have any experience coming off the street, no education to work in the restaurant biz. One thing to me that I wonder is some of the technology and some of the shift of where people are eating. The Dairy Queen near me doesn't have dine-in anymore. They got rid of dine-in, and the one guy was telling me his sales are the same they were 3 years ago. That people have adapted because nobody really eats that Dairy Queen's food anyways. They eat the Blizzards, and they've adapted to come in and get a Blizzard and leave versus sit there. And he's like, hey, it saves me 3 employees.
Yeah. That's actually really fascinating what's happened. Because look, before, let's just take McDonald's as a perfect example. So before the pandemic, McDonald's got 70% of its business through the drive-through. And that's probably that's probably now in the 90% range. And you see us growing movement, in the fast food business to just close dining rooms altogether, especially given the labor constraints. The reason why you don't see that more, I mean, you certainly saw it in the last few months because of the Omicron variant, and we had such bad labor shortages on the individual restaurant level that it was very common to go to a fast food restaurant and not see the dining room open. Yeah. But right now, the only reason a fast food dining room even exists is just to make sure that the drive-through line doesn't get too long.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily that the days of the fast food dining room are over, but they're really going away very quickly. And, you see that in the typical restaurant prototype now has a lot less dine-in area. I live I'm from the Minneapolis area, and there is a 4-lane Taco Bell, a Taco Bell with 4 drive-through lanes being built. Yeah. And
is that the one with double deckers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So you see so many restaurants now being designed with really compact dining rooms or no dining rooms at all. And even McDonald's is playing in that, which is really fascinating. It's and the thing is like, I don't know, I think about it, like, how pleasant of an experience is it to to eat in one of these places. Often not really that great. So it's just a fascinating trend.
Yeah. Well, and this comes up another topic that Chef Chris Hill just posted on here. We'll dig into this is because I've got some opinions on this. Some about gig workers that restaurants are being developed also of having areas for those third party deliveries. And I eat out, like I said, a lot. I travel a lot. At least I used to as of 3 weeks ago. Every other week, didn't miss a beat during the pandemic. Travel all over the country. So I've been in a lot of Ubers. I've not talked to very many Uber drivers in this entire country that are making any damn money. Most of them I talk to, they're making a little, but when you ask them questions about your car maintenance, about this, about that, they're like, oh yeah, you got a good point there. I personally think in the next 12 to 24 months, we're going to see these people that have been doing gig work realizing, oh, I just moved cash for 2 years. And so that's what, Chris talks about is how many of these younger people are like, oh man, I can wear my Scooby-Doo sweatpants and my Crocs and go pick up some restaurant's food and take it looking like a homeless person to a person's home. It's so cool. I think they're going to wake up in the next 24 months and realize they're broke as hell. What do you think about the gig working world there?
That's fascinating. To be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if at a lot of restaurants you could right now go in and say, hey, I'll take a job as long as you let me wear my Scooby-Doo sweatpants and slippers. They probably will let you do it. But I mean, and that's a great point on the gig worker, because I really do think that that's kind of keeping a lid, at least for now. And it's not just Uber, the Ubers of the world. If you think about even anybody right now thinking about their career future has more options to be their own boss or make their own living than they ever had.
Yep.
You could, there are people that make a lot of money selling shoes. Like they just, sneakerheads go, you go to find some cheap used,
custom made shoes.
Right. And then you sell them and make a profit. Even something as simple like that. You have so many options available to you to make your own living that, and certainly the gig work. And I can tell you that a lot of restaurant companies are insistent that delivery is taking away a lot of their employees, and so is Amazon and companies like that essentially offer you the opportunity to sort of control your own destiny and do your own thing. And I mean, I tend to agree with you, especially like with these gas prices is so high. I mean, at some point, some of these drivers are going to say, wait a minute, I can't afford this anymore because the cost just doesn't work any longer. Maybe I'm going to go work at a restaurant or something. Or they start realizing that being your own boss is not as great as it is made out to be. Yep. But it still puts the onus to me on the operator to make sure you're providing your employees with an experience that is going to make them want to keep coming back.
Well, and you've also got to tell your story. With America's Best, with our media side, we talk to 200-300 restaurants a week. My team does about our show we film. And the majority of them, you look on their social media, you look on their website, they look like every restaurant. There's no personality, and people want to be around fun stuff. I get applications every day for my company, and I ask them why, because a lot of them come to me, and we got 40 or 45 people now, full part-time. Like, why you want to apply? Why you want? Because it looks fun. I watch your journey. I watch you on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, YouTube, LinkedIn, and it looks like a place that would be exciting. Restaurants, for the most part, don't look too exciting because the places don't showcase their personality. But I'm also one of the worst like Uber riders because I put a lot of doubt in Uber drivers' minds because I ask the question. I'm a business person. I'm an entrepreneur. And I know what tires cost. I know what oil change. I know maintenance. And I had one person literally like 2 months ago was like, dude, never thought of that, man, because he'd been doing like 3 months. And he's telling me how much he made. And I said, dude, you do the math. You're probably going to net 15 to 20 grand this year. And he's like, oh, shit. So I think there's going to be a wake-up moment. But at the same time, those restaurants have to be prepared to have a very attractive item for that person to come back to. And honestly, probably have some pretty solid training for them to come back to because they've been in their car in their pajamas for 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, they need to make sure that they're doing a really good job of make sure your managers are well trained, that they're that your managers are, treating the employees, with a certain level of respect. Make sure that, communicate very well. One of the things that the industry doesn't do a good enough job on is actually communicating the level of opportunity that you have if you go to work at a restaurant. Like you can name another industry that you can go in off the street, get a job, relatively quickly move into the management ranks,
Yep.
and then start really, and even move your way up into ownership with certainly with some assistance, or into a much higher paying job, as long as you work hard and you're diligent. This industry doesn't do a really good job of publicizing
Yep.
that fact.
Yeah, and that's where when I talk about the story, most operators I talked to one yesterday, talked about her mom and dad came from Sicily with her and her brother, 38 years ago, and they bootstrapped and did this. I mean, that's a story that somebody's like, man, that could be me.
Yep.
And I don't think a lot of people realize, like most people just didn't all of a sudden like open up a high-end restaurant or a restaurant out of nowhere and go, oh, we got it. They started in dishes. They were a busboy. They went to a hostess. They went to a server, bartender, and worked their way up. It's truly a career you can build up and launch into there. So
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. How can people, is this the best place for people to find more information about what you're doing and information on the business?
Absolutely. Restaurantbusinessonline.com.
Okay. How can we support you? What can we do to help support your business?
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Subscribe to Restaurant Business Plus. It's it's a bargain given the amount of journalism that you get for that. You get access to our top 500 that we run with our sister company Technomic, but plenty of good stuff on that website for sure.
Oh, I agree. I love it. I've actually got a restaurant owner here in the studio on the other side who knows the publication well, and I'm sure would agree. There's a lot of amazing content on there and good things to help prepare you and arm you for what's coming and what's happening every day. And then last but not least, look the man up on LinkedIn, check him out, connect, share his content, help spread the word. Let's make the world a better place, one restaurant at a time. Jonathan, I appreciate your time today, brother.
Thanks for having me on. This is great.
You're welcome. Thanks, sir.